Hello, hello, Gutsy women. Welcome to this wonderful Tuesday. Wherever you are in the world, it is nearly 5:30 for me in the UK. And today I have the privilege, the honor, and the absolute joy of interviewing Damara No. How are you, Damara?
I'm great. I'm happy to be sharing time with you. Thank you, Dee, for sharing your group with me and allowing me a space to share my message.
You're more than welcome, Damara. And I know that you have a story about your own health that really kind of really focused in on, what you want to be doing in your work. And that's what got you started. And there may be another pivotal moment earlier on in your life, but could you just tell people exactly who you are, where you're from, and what it is you do? What's the story behind it?
Sure. I am a spiritual entrepreneur, which means I've been building businesses for a couple of decades. And the way that I've done that has really been to focus on my intuition, my gut feeling first, and then create from that space. And the businesses that I've been in seem to be always service-based. I always ask, would I like to be treated like this? How would I like to be treated? And so there's always an intention behind everything that I do. I am also an intuitive mentor. In my 20s kind of activated my intuition. It was always there. And the gifts that I've been able to cultivate were just under the surface, but I really started to dive into that in my 20s. And my son was really a activation for that when I became a mother. It wasn't in my plans that early, but a whole new level of love expanded my heart and just a passion and a commitment to heal whatever trauma the experiences. I mean, we all have things we go through, and that really started me on a journey of trusting who I am and listening to my own voice, which has come into play for me health wise. I also really value health. I would say I'm a sacred health advocate, and the underpinnings of that is that you get to choose for you and that you trust yourself enough to take in the information, look for solutions, and then create that in your life, and that you really have the opportunity to choose for yourself what works for you. So I help people stand in their power so that it's your life. It is 100% responsibility, and I'm just a guide. I do not want to be anybody's guru. I think that we each are our own best guide, and so I like to cultivate that in a way that allows people to grow who they are. I do believe energy is the foundation of everything. I believe in holistic health. I connect with you on so many levels in that way. And in particular, I love your message that you're creating, that you are not your diagnosis. I think that that in itself is such a powerful statement. And I have watched throughout my life, from being a young girl, people be very sick in my family. And it never occurred to me from a very young age that if this was healing, why aren't they getting better? And why do they have side effects? Why is one symptom, one diagnosis traded for another one? That just never felt resonant with me. So it's interesting that my life has been filled with people with health challenges, and then I've had my own health challenges. So that really fuels my mission, is to really create a space where people are allowed to really be who they are and have freedom to choose how they want to live their life. And it has led me in different ways that I could never even imagine, but that's the beauty of life.
Yeah, I know, but I know what you're saying. We're all our own individual guides, and some of us haven't been taught to be our own best guide because we haven't been taught to listen to our bodies. We haven't been taught to understand what the symptoms are. We've been told that symptoms are there to basically be treated with a pill for all ills and that kind of thing, when in fact our symptoms are actually just language of the body saying, can you please take notice? This needs fixing, kind of thing. This needs to be sorted out. And it's not generally in the body that it needs sorting out. It's generally within the heart and the emotions. And so I totally agree with you. When we get taught how to do that, that's amazing. But you've got your story, Damara, about your own health challenge. You were diagnosed, I believe, with Lyme's disease. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that influenced your level of feelings of control over your body, and how did you turn that around eventually?
Sure, thank you. Just before I contracted Lyme, I had spent about 6 years caring for a mother who was battling cancer. So I was, managing a couple of businesses, 4 kids, and really being, I had some support, but really being the caregiver for my mother. So watching her suffer was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to experience. But I also watched her not stand in her own power, and it was like just such a deep experience of honoring her, holding her, and advocating for her, and allowing her to choose for herself, whether I agreed or did not agree, was a really profound experience for me. So that really impacted me, and it took me a little while to kind of get through that. And I have to say, I did put myself aside. Like, I was not taking care of myself. Like, just to even sit and breathe was like something I wasn't even doing the very basic things. I was kind of just like in trying to keep my entire family up and going, because we had lost my dad very suddenly when my mom was going through some of the procedures for cancer and stuff. So I was managing my mom in grief and my own grief, and also in a system that seemed to be not offering her the best of what I felt she really needed and deserved. And I really do believe that holistic health, like health in itself, is a birthright. It is something that we as people should be honored in the way that we are cared for, and the options that are available to us. And I've done complementary, alternative, holistic health since my 20s. One of my children just came out with some health problems, and I wasn't seeing resolution. And I just thought, this is the definition of insanity. And at that time, we didn't have the internet and access to, what we have access to now. So I really had to learn to trust myself and to really tune into. And I just kept asking, please put somebody in front of me that provides some solutions that will not have, some consequences to my child's health. And so that really led me on the path of like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to look for something that does make sense for me. And so it's been a real long journey of really questioning what's put in front of us and the information, and really learning to check in with myself. Does this feel, am I aligned with this? And like really having to do that to advocate for my child at a time where, advocating for yourself wasn't even spoke about. So I had to learn to be really strong in who I was. And I've like my children, I've worked my whole life around my family. My children are like, they have been activators for me. They have been my biggest blessing. And so it was something I could really stand for, even if maybe I wasn't willing to stand for myself as strong. I was willing to stand very strongly for my children. So that really opened up a lot of doors for me. And then after my mom passed, I took about a year to kind of get myself together. And in that time, I hadn't been really working with clients. I wasn't hosting retreats anymore. I kind of had to step back from that just for my own energy. And I'm empathic and intuitive. And I was like, I'm like putting up the guardrails to guide my own life. There wasn't energy for me to do that for other people. You can't give what you don't have. So I was like, okay, get yourself together and let's like focus on getting yourself healthy. And then I started doing retreats and I was like, yeah, I'm back in it. I'm, living my purpose. And doing retreats and taking clients again. And, it's just beautiful to watch people's light come alive and for them to step into their gifts and really start to appreciate themselves. It's like when I see somebody, a light turns on, it's just like, wow, I love it. Like, thank you for contributing your life. I see potential so deeply in people, and to see them bring them alive is it's a joy. Honestly, it's a joy for me. So I was like, okay, I've got my life back on, here we go. And then I was planting trees. I live in northern Canada on a lake, and I would say I'm a tree hugger. I absolutely love trees, and my husband works shifts. And so I had got 20 trees, and I was like, we need to get these planted. And so we were on a mission to get them planted, and I started feeling sick. And I live in the land of bugs. Like the seasons go through the bugs, like we have this bug this season, like it's buggy. If you don't like bugs, probably don't come visit me, but really. And it's covered head to toe. And then I started feeling sick. And I kind of laid down on the ground. I said to my husband, I don't know if I can finish this. And I'm kind of a like get it done kind of girl. And especially because I have a love of trees, I was like, okay, you could push through this. And how many times do we push through things? And it was a struggle, like such a struggle. I went to bed for 3 days. And I had a headache. I had chills. When I take my clothes off, I was covered in bites from like my ankles were full. My neck was like a whole nother neck was on top of it. I probably had 70 or more bites all over my body. And because I was in this place where like, let's just get it done, I didn't even notice that was happening. You know what I mean? And then fast forward about 3 weeks later, I was completely bedridden. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get my covers off of me. I was literally screaming in pain. It was so bad. It was like my blood was completely poisoned and it was touching every part of my body. So because I do holistic health, mostly just from my experience, this was when we were doing like health appointments from afar or on the phone or whatever. And I was pretty desperate and I lived pretty remote. So the closest place to me was about an hour away. And I got on a phone call with a doctor because I was just like, I need like some testing. I need like I'm in so much pain. Nothing is relieving this pain. And I was that desperate, honestly. I was that desperate. And the woman diagnosed me, the doctor diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, I don't even have arthritis, and explain to you that like I just was bitten. And I don't remember, but one of my daughters said, Mom, I'm pretty sure you had a bullseye. And I honestly wasn't very coherent then. So I don't know really what my body looked like because my mind was being deeply affected. And so she diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis and prescribed me some pills. And I was like, if this pills is going to take like the inflammation down, maybe it'll be some pain relief. So I dragged myself into my vehicle and I drove 2.5 hours to get the prescription. And I got home and like I believe in muscle testing and what resonates with your body. And I should have done this actually before I even got in the vehicle, but like I said, I was desperate and I was in so much pain. And so I held it against my body, and everything was saying to me, don't take this, don't take this, don't take this, don't take this. And I was like, I'm in so much pain. I need something. And so I called my family doctor, which was like a 4.5 hour drive away. And I said to him, this is what's happening. And he said to me, what's the prescription dose? And I said it was whatever, 75, whatever it was, milligrams or something. And he said, that is triple what you should be even prescribed. And he said, do not take that. He said, patients of mine have had extreme bleeding in their stomach they have holes burned in their stomach from this medication. And I was like, wow, like that would have just started a whole nother thing for me to have to deal with. Right. And I was like, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you for trusting that you shouldn't take this. So I didn't take it. I was like, I'm not taking it. And I kind of suffered and I did some things that I knew what to do. I gotta say, I did a detox bath twice a day. And honestly, that really helped me. Um, and then I had an ankle surgery from a previous injury from sports and it was time for it to be done. And I was lucky enough, it was a 3-year wait list, but I was lucky enough that it was a family friend and he's an amazing doctor. He repaired my ankle and I was going in for like a checkup. And he looked at me and he said, and so by this time I'm walking like I'm like dragging my body along. And he looks at, and he's known me pretty much my whole life. And he said, oh my God, what happened to you? And I was like, this is what happened. And so he said, and my knee was the size of an elephant's. And I tried to get on the bed very slowly. And he said, please, please let me give you an injection in your knee. Please let me help you. And I was like, I'd had steroids in my shoulders early on because I played a lot of sports and it created another problem. It was temporary, but then it created another problem. So, but I allowed him to do it. Like he was like, please, please. And that steroid, I was like walking on air for about 12 hours. It took the inflammation down. But then the next day I was worse. I was like, that was it. I was like, I honestly was like, yahoo, skipping around. I thought, here we go. I'm feeling fabulous. And I crashed. And then I spent another month probably in bed. And then I decided that I wasn't doing this anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm not living like this. I had just watched my mother suffer. My children are not going to have to take care of me. And I don't want to live like this. There's so much inside of me. And so I just asked for solutions. And I have to tell you that I didn't read into Lyme. I didn't read deeply into it. I didn't align myself with any of I have this, or I didn't own it. I was like, and I wasn't bypassing it, but I wasn't putting energy into things that I knew were going to make my mind spiral. So I asked for solutions. I literally asked for solutions and the solutions came for me. So I started working with a naturopath and did biofeedback and holistically. Really, I started to heal myself, and it was a journey. In meantime, I packed my family. This is like strong into the pandemic. I packed my family up, and we left Canada because we thought we were going to go move. We were looking for a different community, a different lifestyle, one where we honored autonomy and choice and freedom. And we weren't feeling that. We were feeling like we were being almost forced and threatened. Your kids don't, if they did get injured, they couldn't go like a bone set, or you couldn't get an x-ray, couldn't go into the grocery store. I mean, these were threats that were happening. And we were just like, we're not having it. So we packed all our stuff up and went to Texas for a bit and then drove through Mexico. We left for 7 months and I was full blown Lyme at that place. And my hair was falling out in handfuls and I was in pain every day. But what I did do was we were in a new environment. I was getting fresh food right from the farm, and I was in sunlight. So those 3 factors, and I was out of what felt like a pressure cooker in just what was going on. And so I just continued to ask for solutions along the way, and they just kept coming. And it's not been like, oh, uphill, here we go, I've got all the solutions. It has been an up and down, like life, but I was committed to creating a life where I wasn't in pain and that my life wasn't taken up by symptoms, that I still had a passion inside of me that really wanted to create an impact and really support other people. So, and I wanted my family to have a healthy, happy mother, and I wanted to have a great relationship, and I didn't want to spend my time worrying about a diagnosis. And so I focused I did what I needed to do to take care of myself, but I focused on what I did want as opposed to what I didn't want. And I think that really supported me in finding solutions. And so that's been a journey. And I mean, I've always had a desire to support people. I started out as a massage therapist, so doing body work, and it quickly evolved into energetic body work. And, I've done Reiki and a bunch of other modalities. So the realm of energy and embodying energy and, having things stuck in our body has been something, that I've been aware of for like 20, 30 years. And, so continuing on living my life, I got back into my life, and then my girls are busy and my husband works away. So it's really on me to sort of like keep my family moving, as lots of us women do, right? Like we just kind of are the cog in the wheel. And last July, I was like, whew, my girls were done school and I need a break. So I sat on my deck for a month. I gave myself a month, which for somebody who, you and I were just speaking about this, somebody who like wants to get stuff done, that is a challenge, but I really surrendered to it. I sat on the deck for 8 hours a day in the sun, looked at the lake, I boated, I binge watched Netflix if I wanted to. I read what books I wanted to. I just allowed space for me. And so about 30 days in, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, what's my next? Where am I going with this? What am I called to do? And I connected with a woman who was growing her business in holistic health products. And I spoke with her and I had like a full body chill yes. And I was like, so this is my next step. And I was like, this is your next step. So, and I had kind of like hit this place in my health where I was like accepting that maybe this is as good as it gets. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like, I'm not going to be as productive. I'm not, like I was just like, I wasn't fighting it, I guess. And so I was a full body yes to this woman. Her name's Jen. I had met her a year before, and how did I know she was going to change my life? But I had an instant connection to her, and she really has really influenced my life and in a beautiful way. And so then I kind of started back in promoting these holistic health products. And when I started taking them, it changed my life. It was the next level. It was like I don't have to spend time in bed. I have energy. I have focus. I also have a way better balance about how much and when I rest, kind of like what you and I were talking about before, more of an honoring of my body. And so what it's done for me is like I told you about my elephant knee. I don't have elephant knee anymore. I don't have, I activated my own stem cells using this plant-based product. And it's been a life changer for me. I don't have pain in my body where I was still living with pain, and pain deeply affects your ability to honestly do anything, right? Like even your choices for yourself, everything becomes a bit of a struggle. And I really didn't want to struggle anymore. And so that's really what I've been up to, is really, I really know that my health and well-being have to be at the forefront so that, and I believe that for others too. And I know like you also, um, support people with their health too, because when you don't feel good, you really can't do good. And if you can't sustain your vital energy and enjoy your life, it's very hard to live on purpose and a big mission. So I have hit another level of health. So I want to be able to help people with that too. And I know that there were many years where I was on my own, just trying to find solutions, sort of isolated, and got trier and experiencer, and I'm open. But I really want to be able to support people in a way that it's like, hey, I've been the route. I've done a lot of things. I can offer you what my experience has been and empower you to make choices for you. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Wow, you've been through so much, Damara, and you know what those years have taught you around the mind and the body connection. You've just touched on that about when you're in pain, it will affect how you think and feel. And I know you said you didn't want to identify with Lyme and
Mhm.
anything that, you know, it's a little bit like what I would call a pre-hypnotic suggestion. This is Lyme, this is the symptoms, this is what you will experience. And if you read it, that's exactly what you get. And
Totally.
so yeah, exactly. And so when we actually take on board what it's written down or what's said to us, especially with a man in a white coat and a stethoscope, we put them in positions of authority, and then we start to believe, and then that belief system sits in ourselves, and off we go. But when you were
Yes.
in that stage with Lyme, when
Mhm.
did you actually know it was Lyme, and what, you know, what did that then do to your mindset? When, because we were talking earlier about not owning the diagnosis, and
Mhm.
so we know that if you diagnosis, we go on to Dr. Google now, don't we?
Yeah.
A lot of times, and we read all the symptoms and we say, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, but actually it's not you. And we shouldn't be saying my IBS, we shouldn't be saying my fibromyalgia, my breast cancer, because that
Yeah.
becomes an identity. It's a cloak we wear, and then we fall into all of that. So
Mhm.
when did you actually get the diagnosis of Lyme, and what did that do, and what made you flip the switch on that?
Sure. Um, I knew. I knew before I had any testing. I knew within me. I really did. I have connection to a higher wisdom within myself that I've cultivated over many years. And I really inherently in my heart and in my body knew what it was. When I was working with a naturopath, he was like, well, we can, you can go to Germany, get the testing, all the things. And I was like, really? That's a lot. And when I had that steroid put in my knee and then I relayed that information to my naturopath, he was like, wow, Damara, he said, I'm sorry that I wasn't listening to you, but he's like, everything you're saying really is Lyme. And then I had biofeedback done, when it reads your frequency, and that came up right away. It was like, Lyme. I was like, I already know that. Thank you very much for the confirmation. And it's like what you do with what you're given. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to do with this information? What do I want to do with this information? What is the outcome that I want to create? And I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew that I wanted to be healthy. And I knew that I wanted an experience in this life where I wasn't in pain all the time. So I looked for things that were solutions. So for me, it was a decision. It was like, okay, so I have this information. This is just information. This is for my benefit. Them telling me this and this and this is for my benefit. So how do I take this and make it beneficial for me? So that's what I did. I took that information as feedback, and then I set an intention to find solutions. That is really just what I did. And then I trusted myself. And I thought, you know what? Whatever decision I make, I'm going to, like, I'm the one who has to live with those decisions. So if it didn't resonate with me, I didn't do it. If it resonated with me, I was like, okay. And then when it no longer resonated, I was willing to pivot. I was like, okay, I'll pivot. And I asked all the way along, please put people in my life that can help me, support me, and, relieve these symptoms. And that's what happened.
Sorry, I need to
Yeah.
unmute
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
And that's the powerful part, is about taking control and asking yourself, well, what do I do with this information? Because the medical profession, in my experience as a former nurse, is all we do is offer symptom management. If you'd gone down the route of pharmaceutical symptom management, I'm guessing, which is a very educated guess, you would not be feeling as amazingly well as you now do. And so what an absolute turnaround that you've done simply by getting that mindset in place and saying, what am I going to do with this information? These people have only got one solution, but that doesn't mean there is only one solution. There is more than one solution, and I'm going to find it. And so that's just such a powerful testimony to the nature of your own inner strength and your mindset around, I'm going to be a detective. I'm going to uncover, I'm going to research, and I'm going to find other ways that will actually bring me back to full health again. So well done on doing that, because it's a message that I've been pushing for 26, 7 years now.
Thank you for doing that.
I don't want to give my age away, but I am getting on a bit. I am getting on a bit. So Damara, do you know what? I just want to applaud you for doing what you've done and for sharing your story so so intently, and it's just been fascinating to hear the ups and downs that you go through and what your body was doing and what you were actually doing to attempt to listen to it in the best way that you could. And I do believe in energy testing. I do believe in bioresonance. I know that these tools really, really work, because we are not just a mass of cells. We have energy, we have resonance with other things. It's why we can go into a room and not like the vibration when we go in, or we go into a room and we think this is a happy place. We know when somebody's having an argument and the energy's thick with silence and resentment or whatever. So we are energy beings. We do feel these kinds of things going on, and once we get taught to actually reconnect with that, what we're capable of is so much more than we ever thought we could do. So thank you for bringing that into focus on our interview today. It's been a joy listening to you and having you on. And so where can people get in touch with you, Damara? I know you're in the group, so they can get in touch with you here, but
sure,
where else?
Sure. You can actually go to my website. It's damarakanor.com. There's more information about me, some of the products that have really helped expand my health to the next level. There's some information. You also can book a 30-minute call with me, just a resonance call. It can help you find clarity in whatever level. I don't think that we compartmentalize, like, this is my business and this is my family and, this is my health. And like, we're a full spectrum. And I think that we need to address all those levels. So if you need support in your health or your life or your business or strategy or clarity, or you need somebody to listen, and just maybe sometimes it's just like one thing somebody says and it turns a corner for you. So I'm here for the deep conversations. I love to have fun, and I think that although I've dealt with some very serious issues, some very serious experiences that they have a profound effect, I also think that we can be light about it. It doesn't mean we're making light of it, but we can be light about it. So I really am here for it all. I also run a women's circle every Wednesday, 6 p.m. PST. You can connect to me. It's a private Zoom. It's where we come together as women. It's an open and safe space where we get to share, because I think isolation, and we tend to, like, a lot of people still don't know that I've been recovering from Lyme, my very close people, but I was very cards to my chest because I was following my own guidance, and I really didn't need extra noise telling me something different. So this is a space to share about what's happening with women and women's health. And So it's just been a beautiful space to open up, and you can listen and make new friends. And we do share some of the things that have worked for us. For me, I co-host it with a couple of other people who've been on their own health journey, who are heart-centered and loving. So you're welcome to connect to me. You can get me on Facebook, message me. It's a private Zoom link. I'm happy to have you. Come check it out. And yeah, and you could just message me. I'm open to having more heart-centered and like-minded people who are up to good things. So maybe I'm a guide for you, maybe I'm not, but possibly we can just have a friendship and grow the collective. So I'm open for all of that.
Lovely. Okay. That's wonderful, Damara. Thank you so much once
Yeah.
again. And anyone that's resonated with Damara's story and all the work that she does, please put a comment below this. And I will be asking her to put her contact details into a special place on the site, which is for the pros. The professionals who are in this group who have been interviewed, they will be putting their links into there. So I'll direct you to that, Damara, when we're finished. Okay.
Thank you.
So thanks very much,
Thanks,
everyone, for
Dee.
watching. And thank you, Damara, once again.
Thank you, Dee. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.